we are creating a world right now with technology that is leading us down. Like we are like on the brink of discoveries right now with brain computer interfaces and like AI, machine learning, having the cloud of like iPhones and Internet of Things. Like we're starting to see intersection of all of this science and technology that is lending itself to possibly moving us, progressing us towards this idea of spirituality with the universal consciousness. And that's an interesting idea, that the same concepts with spirituality of like finding oneness with universal consciousness, of like letting go the ego to be able to achieve that, are getting materialized in our world, in the digital world. Because it's like, if you're going to pursue this path of, in the material world, of connecting your consciousness to the universal consciousness of the World Wide Web, of the cloud, whatever that platform ends up becoming in the future, that you are going to have to let go of that ego to be able to want to unify yourself with that collective consciousness. And the same thing applies with spirituality and like psychedelics, is like to go down the path of like meditation, or to find oneness with the world or with nature or the spiritual, that you have to let go of that ego to be able to unlock your self-concept to something greater. Same thing applies with God, of like religion and stuff, on a more maybe traditional way of like letting yourself up, giving yourself up to God or to that higher power, and to have trust in that higher power, that everything will be okay. And that's a thing that kind of like breaks down our barriers to like bring people together. But also at the same time, like as a caveat with like religion and stuff, religion can heighten our ego and create barriers and blocks between two opposing groups. But like finding like true spirituality, this like oneness with nature, is like more related towards letting go of this ego, not using spirituality to heighten the ego, but instead using spirituality to find oneness, to have open-mindedness of ideas, of people, different cultures, and to realize that humanity as a whole, and not even just humanity, but like Mother Nature, all of these things in existence, is all in it together. And the thing that's like uniting us all together is consciousness itself. And it's like, I had a different video describing this concept, but like everything that is in existence is directing itself towards this higher heightened state or manifestations of increased levels of consciousness, and how like everything that is in existence that we are interacting with, even on the day-to-day basis, whether it's organic or inorganic material, or it's other biological bodies, or like animals, whether it's like fungus, the leaves, the trees, nature itself, is all shared. It's like a shared consciousness in and of itself, that we all have bits and pieces. Yes, humans might have theoretically more consciousness than different animals, but at the end of the day, we all have shared consciousness. So like going from that caveat to like understanding how it's going to get materialized in science and technology, it's going to be like technology is going to allow us to be able to connect into this digital front, this digital world, where we are going to have shared experiences now. We are going to be able to tap into other people's consciousness and relate to one another on a more intimate level, that it's not only just like through communication. Because like think about our communication nowadays. It's like I have these thoughts and ideas in my head, and in order for you to be able to experience and understand what's going on in my head, I have to use the tools of communication, of thinking, of like talking it out. And even there's like a decreased bandwidth effect to be able to communicate these ideas to another person's consciousness. But instead, with brain computer interfaces, it's breaking that tool of language, where we don't have to speak to one another, but instead it's like transmitting thoughts and ideas directly into one another's consciousness, with like less of a bandwidth decrease, where it's like free flowing, hopefully, where it's like I can communicate accurately my thoughts to another person without this like level of misunderstanding. And we're moving towards that world potentially. Like all of these pieces of technology are out there in reality right now. So it's like really hard to discount the fact that maybe in the future we won't get to that point where it's like, imagine a world where we're on this digital platform of virtual reality and we're like experiencing life with one another while at the same time being connected and like through brain computer interfaces to the point of maybe transcending biology, where we don't even need our physical bodies anymore, but instead we're like creating artificial substrate brains where we can like transmit thoughts and ideas, where it's like my perspective, my conscious understanding of that virtual reality is now transcended biology, where now it's just like this artificial brain, but at the same time I'm still existing and coexisting with other conscious beings on this platform, and we've all transcended biology. And that sounds so crazy. That's so crazy. But like all the pieces of technology are there, whether it's like AI to be able to create this like digital platform to like gain psychological insights and understanding of the human mind, to be able to analyze all of this data that's going to be inputted into that platform, while at the same time we have brain-computer interfaces on the forefronts of development, blockchain technology to provide us like the privacy that is needed, machine learning to be able to take in all that information and make sense of it all. That kind of like lends itself to artificial intelligence. But like, again, just highlighting the fact that these pieces of technology are already in development. So all it takes is one of those things to progress. And what if it's artificial intelligence? Well, you have this supercomputer that can now process information and make sense of all of our information to then maybe create a next level brain computer interface. And because that's technologically improving, it's improving all these other things, whether it's like quantum computers now. It gives all these pieces of technology a reason and a framework to be able to continue progression. And we're going to see like this technological advancement explosion, and they're predicting that it's going to be exponential. But like, as you can see, like we already have these pieces of the puzzle already out there. So now it's just trying to figure out how all these kinds of things are interconnecting. And basically my thesis here is making the metaphor, the analogy that like, oh wow, like spirituality, these concepts of spirituality have been in existence for like all of human eternity, of like understanding how like nature and God consciousness or like our consciousness, how we're all interconnected. But now it's moving into this phase of science and technology where we're truly understanding in the material scientific world how maybe these concepts of spirituality are going to hold true. And that's crazy to think too. It's been thousands, millions of, well, depending on how long humans have been around for, let's say thousands of years, that they conceptualized this understanding. And now it's like science and technology is coming to a point where it's proving those theories and beliefs to be true, that we are all interconnected. And it's going to possibly happen in either my lifetime or our next generation's lifetime. And that's a crazy thing to conceptualize, to even like, yeah, we're headed towards a very interesting period of human development. And yeah, buckle your seatbelts. Buckle your seatbelts, because it's gonna come quick and it's gonna come all at once. And like Michael Pollan said, it's spirituality versus ego. And in order to achieve a enlightened state of spirituality, you have to let go of the ego. So in practical terms of this crazy future, it's deciding whether or not you want to connect your brain up to this digital interface, or letting technology and humanity transcend biology and maybe leave you behind. Like, that's a choice that is on the forefront of making. That's a huge existential existential question to be had, and we might have to make that decision. So yeah, that's essentially it. Essentially my theory, and kind of just piggybacking off of Michael Pollan's ideas. But super interesting. Definitely check it out. You could probably find it, like I said, Bioneers, his presentation on YouTube. Yeah, that's about it. Hope you all have a good day. Signing off. Peace.